G'day guys, it's Tim Guest here, Australia's leading financial educator and managing director of Infinite Wealth. We're here to talk today about one of the biggest myths that exists when it comes to property investment. But before we do that, whether it's your first time joining us, welcome along, or of course if you're a long time follower, it's great to have you back. And of course we just love to see your interaction with these videos. So, if you love, like, hate, whatever, please, let us know through the whatever platform that you're watching us. And of course, we'd love to see your comments and your questions. Questions, probably the biggest things of anything you want to know, or maybe any myths that you've heard when it comes to property investment, then put them down in the comment section below, and I can do a video about them as well. So today, the big thing that I want to talk about, and in fact, what actually spurred me on to do this is when I was on the Today Show last week, Ben Fordham, one of the hosts there, asked me about the age-old myth about, always buy 10Ks from the city, and whether it was a myth that's still applied in today's environment, right? So I wanted to actually talk just a little bit about this because, of course, people that are keen on investing in property, they want to know where they can when they can invest and get the greatest returns, okay? So primarily what it comes down to is the old 10Ks from the CBD that you should be investing in that area. Not only is it currently a myth, but it's always been a myth. There's actually been absolutely no statistics whatsoever or evidence that backs that up whatsoever. And this is probably one of the most important things that you're going to have to deal with if you are someone who's keen on investing in property, is that, every man and his dog has got an opinion about what you should or should not do, or what's the best or not the best kind of investment strategy that you should have. The reality is you should not listen to a single person, okay, about what they say. Here are the stats when it comes to people who successfully invest in property. Firstly, 75% only ever own one, okay? So that tells you 3 out of 4 people, they're not good enough investors that they can ever expand their portfolio past one, right? 50% of property investors, no matter what property they buy, will sell an investment property within 7 years, okay? And once again, you don't need me to tell you that property investment is a long-term investment strategy. So if you're only holding on to it for 7 years, you're not even getting close to starting to reap the gains. And the reality is the reason why people are selling within 7 years is because either there's too much hassle, or they're just primarily that the investment is not performing. Okay, so once again, they bought the wrong thing in the wrong area at the wrong time. They're not getting the performance, and that's why they get rid of it. Okay, and then if we start to narrow it down to people that are successful when it comes to property investment, only 6% of investors ever get to 3 or more. Right, so once again, like the success rates of ever building like a successful portfolio start to dramatically diminish. And when it comes down to the percentage of investors, and by the way, all these stats are from the ATO, okay? So you can look them up yourself, all right? So the percentage of people that ever get to 6 or more is less than 1%. Out of all the investors out there, only 1% will ever get to 6 investment properties or more. And primarily it's because the majority of investment strategies that people talk about are just either they're chasing the capital growth at the cost of their cash flow, i.e. their investments are too negatively cash flowed, or maybe what they're doing is doing the other thing. They're going for very positively geared cash flow strategies, which typically don't get you the capital growth in which limit your ability to expand your portfolio. But regardless of whether it's either one of those two, I can guarantee you the number one thing that most people aren't taking into consideration when it comes to their investment strategy is the risk. Okay, so you're investing, you're assuming a risk, and if you're not successfully managing your risk, it's going to limit your ability to expand your portfolio. Okay, so people that are able to get to those higher levels of properties in their portfolio, they don't listen to Tom, Dick and Harry about what they think is the best area to buy in or what the best strategy is. What they do is they go and do their due diligence and their evidence to support what investment strategy they're actually putting in place. So I'm going to reference a couple of different studies here. So there was 3, and I'll actually make these part, or maybe I'll stick them in the comments section or something along those lines. Probably the biggest one that I like was a study that was done, and it sourced data from over a 13-year period from RP data. What it found ultimately was this, is that the cheapest portfolio of property produced an average return over that particular period of 9.6% per annum, as compared to the most expensive portfolio, which only produced a return of about 5.6, I think it was. So almost double the amount of returns. Now, the reason why, you guys have all heard the saying about, always buy the worst property in the best street. It's the same thing, okay? If you're in the worst property in the best street, the majority of houses in a street, the median value being high, the majority of houses in a street are dragging the value of that property up. Whereas if you're buying the best house in the street, the majority of houses in an area are dragging the value of your property down. What people miss about, and look, very common common adage. A lot of people know it. It's kind of one of the philosophies around which they invest. But what they miss is that that same principle applies whether we're talking about a street, a suburb, a city, state, or a nation. So ultimately, what you're finding is that the investment areas that are actually located in the affordability areas, the investment areas that are actually in the outer rings are the areas that produce the greatest growth. And this was certainly backed up by that study that I was just quoting right there. There was another study that covered the three main capital cities during the upturn phase of the last cycle. Once again, what it demonstrated was that it basically demonstrated that the returns were pretty consistent across the inner city, middle ring, and outer suburbs. However, when we dig into the numbers a little bit, over a 3-year period, the inner city grew by 55%, the outer suburbs grew by 57%, and the outer suburbs, I think, grew by 58%. So if you actually crunch the numbers, once again, the outer suburbs grew more. Of course, there was also some data that was put out by REWA last week, and this is referencing just in Western Australia. It talked about the suburbs that had grown the most over the last 10 years. Wattle Grove was the number one, Success was number 2, Auburn Grove, Darch, Madley. All of these suburbs that basically are listed in its top 10 were all suburbs that basically have only recently been developed and are all full of house and land packages. So once again, you typically get most investors want to shy away from house and land packages because they have concerns about the level of supply and developments, where once again, the numbers back up that those investments have actually grown the most. And of course, the key benefit, whether you're looking at the outer suburbs or whether you're looking at the house and land packages, is that the out-of-pocket expense for an investor is much, much lower. If you're buying 10Ks from the city, buying an old house maybe on a block that's maybe subdividable or something along those lines, because you're getting lower rents for the older property, because you're getting higher maintenance costs for the older property, and because you're getting no depreciation benefits, it's costing you an extra couple of $100s a week to hold those investments. And this is primary example is speaking to a gentleman that came to one of our workshops a couple of weeks ago who dealt with quite a reputable, well-known investment company, and they told him to buy a couple of houses that were 10Ks from the city. Both of them were costing him in excess of $200 a week. But once again, when you look at the stats, it's not going to get any greater growth than suburbs that have been further out, or maybe in house and land packages where his holding costs might have only been, maybe $10, $20 a week as compared to $200 a week. So, pay absolutely no attention when it comes to the old adage about, always buy 10Ks from the city, because statistically, it's bullshit, all right? So if you're serious about investing and you want to be successful in your investing, you've got to do your due diligence. You've got to actually find out statistically and from an evidence-based point of view what's actually going to be the best investment. And in my mind, what's going to be the best investment is buying a suburb that has got good fundamentals like economic growth, infrastructure spending, population growth, okay? And then probably buying something that's new, because the new is going to make sure that your holding costs are neutral or possibly negative, but maybe only a little bit negative. And of course, buying in those suburbs, particularly if you're staying in the capital cities, there's almost no risk involved as well. So if you can get your good, strong capital growth, neutral cash flow, and low risk, that's the best kind of investment strategy if you're asking me, and particularly for everyday Aussies. All right, guys, look, that's about it. Bit longer video than I really wanted to go into, but I'm going to start shedding more light on this kind of stuff when it comes to property investment strategies, because there's just a whole bunch of bullshit out there. Once again, if you've gotten value out of this video today, please make sure you share it. And of course, we'd love to hear your comments, questions, and your interactions about the videos. Apart from that, guys, have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks a lot. Bye.